have like. Okay, yeah. It was driving me nuts that I was trying to present things from the dais and from the presentation at the same time so I could look at my own stuff and not see the scale because it's like crazy. So I was like, moving forward.
Are you ready, John?
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You make the announcement tonight.
We will go ahead and get started this evening. Thank you for joining us. This is the City Council Public Hearing Work Session for July the 11th. The clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Brian Mock,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimmy First,
Present.
Councilmember John Mesa, Councilmember Leslie Robson, Councilmember Paul Stovall,
Here.
Councilmember Elmer Veith.
Present.
Loving it. All right. First up on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring a motion to amend the agenda before we approve it, and then approve. The amendment being addition of an item, discussion of the Bay Walls Mural Festival to the staff action items.
Very good. We have a motion to amend the agenda and a second. All in favor of that item? And then we have a motion to add the item. Is that what you wanted to do?
I think we can just do it as one. It's to
Typically, we
approve
do
the
it as two
amendment.
different things.
Okay. Well, then we'll.
Just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, very good
She
then.
overrules me.
Awesome. Awesome. She took it all out of our hands.
That's great.
All right, under announcements and presentations this evening, we have the 2024 mid-year budget review.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am not making the presentation this evening. Daria is making the presentation, but I did just want to kind of tell you why we're doing this. So last year, you all changed your financial policies to require that we do a mid-year budget presentation to you all. So we are here to give you that presentation and give you all the exciting things that the city has been doing fiscally for the first half of the year. I do want to note that in the information that Daria is about to present to you all, it does include the purchase of the Broad Street property as well as the purchase of Public Works. And so you will see a pretty sizable expenditure for this year, about roughly $5 million. And I just want you to keep in mind as she's going through this, that the city will be reimbursed through the URA and the Public Facilities Authority to finance those two property purchases. And so those numbers will shift towards the end of the year, but I just want you to have that in your mind so you're not looking at this thinking, what the heck's going on? So just wanted to preface that by saying that's going to be in the data that she's presenting tonight. And with that, I will hand it over to Daria.
Good evening. This is my first presentation with you all since I joined here last December, but looking forward to it. All right, so back in December, the annual operating budget was adopted at $61 million, and since then, we've had $3.6 million in budget adjustments. You all approved that back in April, but just as a reminder, that included the land acquisition at 3510 Broad Street, which was $2 million, and then some various smaller items in the general fund. Also, the artificial turf at Village Park in the ARPA fund. In the grant fund, we reflected various police grants, and then in stormwater, some smaller projects, including the Montfort Drive demolition and Belfort property restoration. So down at the bottom, you'll see that got us to $64 million. And flipping to the next slide, I wanted to draw your eye to 2024 budget. Down at the bottom, it's $77 million. And the discrepancy there is the ARPA grant, $10.8 million grant that is in the Special Revenue Fund. That is an unusual situation that we have going on this year, but that's the difference there. Beyond that, I just wanted to kind of cover general trends here. So in the general fund, we have $9.6 million in revenue in the general fund, and $19 million in expenditures. And then down below at total funds, we have $16 million in revenue and $26 million in expenditures, or $26 million, sorry. Wanted to note that this is pretty in line with what we've seen historically, and I'll give some more information on that in subsequent slides. So here you'll see general funds broken down by revenues. As you can see on this slide, like I said, general funds revenues are at $9.6 million, and that's about 27% of what we anticipate by the end of the year. We do expect, based on the 2024 tax digest, to collect an amount that's in line with our original estimates. And here you can see the same data as before, but I'm going to go in a little more depth here. The solid green is the percentage of the budget that has already been collected, and the striped part on top is the amount yet to be collected out of the total budget. With taxes, you can see we're kind of down at the bottom, but that's because we have yet to collect, the vast majority of our taxes, including property taxes. That's the bread and butter of our budget. So as that comes in, you'll see that shift in the second half of the year. With licenses and permits, we are about halfway along. We're doing pretty well in the two major categories there, which is alcoholic beverage licenses and building permits. In charges for services, this area does look a little low. I wanted to point that out. The main drivers of that are GCIC funds and Red Speed. Wanted to note that within the last 4 years, GCIC was formerly an enterprise fund, but the city saw a decline in performance there, and that sort of continued. It was moved to the general fund, but it's continued to decline. And then Red Speed is also declining as drivers become more aware of the cameras and the behavior catches up. With fines and forfeitures, we are about halfway there. That's primarily traffic tickets, kind of what we expected to see. And then I'm going to skip down to the end, which is other financing sources, and just wanted to note that that's not reflective of revenue trends. This is primarily comprised of interfund transfers. All right, moving to the next slide. This is a graph intended to show the pace of revenue collection over the last 3 years, and it's really kind of hard to distinguish the different years from one another, but I think that just goes to drive home the point that the way that things are going is how we typically see year over year. Moving on to expenditures, we have here a review of year-to-date expenditures by